Another guy that definitely would not be shy of taking shots at Geoff and I, as he should, is Marcus Hayes. Follow him on Twitter at InkStained. Wretch, he has a really good new article out on Inquirer.com for the Philadelphia Inquirer. And, I said to Geoff today, we got to get Marcus on to talk some Phillies, but I really want to dive into this Ben Simmons article. Marcus, happy 4th of July. Thanks for joining us. How you doing today, man?
I'd rather rip Pete.
See, that's just brilliant.
No, doesn't that? I set this up perfectly, Marcus. I said there are things that come out of your mouth, and I learned that early on the Phillies beat. The 3 weeks that I covered the Phillies, that you were going to always entertain with something that you say. So thank you.
I'd rather rip Pete.
Yeah,
I'm not sending my kids to school at all anymore now that Pete's in the business.
I'm telling you, man. You're going to have a mass exodus of people out of South Jersey and into your neck of the woods there in PA just to get away from Pete.
Come on over. Cheaper.
Pete said the hardest thing is, not getting them to look at their phone. So I'm sure he's giving detentions out left and right. But Marcus Hayes,
right.
you start off your column titled "Ben Simmons, the worst shooter in the NBA, is getting $170 million from the Sixers." That's cool. That's kind of your own detention that you gave Ben Simmons in your column, and I'm going to let you start with it because you start the article just brilliantly, as kind of you always do. Just you think you're about to bash him, and then you go another way, and it's just honesty from you, and it's really interesting getting your insight. So just talk about the article and your thought on the Ben Simmons new contract extension.
Ben Simmons and Tobias Harris both are kind of indicative of what the NBA has become. I mean, you can be pretty good at some things, and because the rest of the league is so poor at everything, you can get tons of money. I mean, the level of play is such that if you're a good shooter, it's a bonus. Once you used to come out of college, you had to be a good shooter to get drafted. Now you can be, good at stuff and work on X, Y, and Z. And that's, it's just what it is. I mean, he's not overpaid. He's not overvalued. He's going to win games and he's going to sell tickets. But he's the worst shooter from outside of 10 feet in the league. And he's one of the worst shooters since, Shaq and DeAndre Jordan. I mean, it's laughable. So for a point guard, that's, I guess, acceptable now. But it just is what it is. I mean, it makes the game worse. But, it is what the game is. It's what they allow it to be.
Marcus, everybody should thank. I mean, all the players getting these contracts like Tobias that you mentioned, they really need to thank, in my opinion, Timothy Mozgov and the Lakers for setting this precedent 4 or 5 years ago when all the new money kicked in. And you had guys like Mozgov and Dellavedova just quadrupling the average NBA salary overnight. But that's really the origins of it, when the new TV money kicked in.
Phenomenon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Mike Conley phenomenon, right? Mike Conley's probably a better player than Ben Simmons is right now. He's not going to be, you think, but he's probably a better player than Ben is right now. And, he's not making nearly as much money, and he's playing on a pretty good team. He just got traded to Utah. It's going to be a good squad. So, it's not the worst era we've ever been in as far as guys getting crazy money on either potential or mediocre past or above average past performances. But it's a weird time.
Marcus, one thing that you say in the article is basically, I'm paraphrasing, what's Ben's incentive now to develop a jump shot? And, Geoff and I talked about that a little bit before we brought you on. And what do you think it is? What does he do now? Where does he go from here? He secured the bag, as the kids like to say on Twitter. And, Jimmy Butler's kind of gone now, so out of his shadow. What does Ben do?
Mo money, right? I mean, he's not going to get 220, 240 if he can't shoot 4 years from now. So that's one incentive. And he likes to win. I mean, Ben's such a proud guy that he won't shoot because he's embarrassed. That, to me, is a good sign. That means he's going to work on it. And I know he's only 4% better from the free throw line from 56 to 60 this season, but he looks better. It's a better shot from the free throw line now. So there is progress, but there's nowhere near as much progress as there should be physically and psychologically. But to answer your question, I think he's proud enough to want to work on it and to get to the point where he's never going to be Steph Curry. But if he gets to be Magic Johnson or Jason Kidd, guys who couldn't shoot early and could shoot late, That's fine.
I'll take Giannis at this point, who's still a bad shooter, but at least has so good in every other part of his game that if you surround him with enough good players and shooters, you can capitalize on that and get an MVP caliber player.
Well, yeah, well, Toronto would disagree.
Well,
I mean,
that's
Toronto
true.
took him out of the game.
Yeah, they did.
So,
Yeah.
no, I mean, you have to be able if you're going to play on the perimeter, you have to be able to shoot. That's just it. I mean, Ben and Giannis are the reasons their team lost. They're also the reason their team were very good. But that deficit, that deficiency is why the Bucks lost, and it's why the Sixers lost. And it's why the Sixers lost twice.
How much pressure is on Ben now, Marcus, with this new revamped team? I mean, you have Horford, you have Embiid, you have Josh Richardson and Tobias Harris, and it's like, all right, we're loaded defensively. We got the length, we have the athleticism, but when you think about this team in a half-court set in the fourth quarter of a crunch time game, I don't know how to define them.
He's making more money than Bryce Harper. He's done nothing that Bryce Harper has done, and he's one of, three really significant guys. So I think you could say the pressure is at least doubled compared to what Bryce Harper's facing. Bryce Harper doesn't pitch.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little bit of relief of pressure there. So, and he's not the manager who's a lightning rod. So it's just, it's going to be if I'm the opposition, especially in the Eastern Conference, every time Ben gets it next year, I start yelling, shoot.
Like the schoolyard. I like it.
Yeah.
Marcus,
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Like you did with the walk-on in college, shoot, we want to see you score.
I'm curious, Marcus, what do you think in general of the new look Sixers? I've had a tough time formulating an opinion because I'm not sure if I really believe that they offered Jimmy a max or not. I tend to think that they did, because why did you make the trade? Say you were star hunting, leak for weeks upon weeks, and then even up till the trade that you had every intention of signing him, and all of a sudden you're trading him away. So I have a feeling that they did offer him a max, and if that's the case, then and he said no, I can't fault them. But if we're comparing this Sixers team now versus one that would have Jimmy Butler in it and not, say, Richardson, I'm not sure. While I like how they are now, and I do think that they're still a very good team, I'd rather have the star. That's my impression.
Well, it's a hard thing to argue against. I mean, I can't say you're wrong, but I don't for a second believe they offered Jimmy Butler the max, or else Jimmy Butler, who's in it for the money, would have taken it. I mean, he's not going to Miami to win. So why else go to Miami? Why else take what you can get? I think that's as much money as he was offered. I'd be astounded if he was even offered 4 years by the Sixers. And I can understand why they would do it, why they wouldn't do it. But I can't argue against you. I think they're better, both because Butler turned into Horford and Richardson.
Correct.
Because of the money. So you're getting 2 for 1. I think they're probably a little bit better, but I think they're the best team in the East, probably not.
And what would you say if let's say the Sixers are down by 5 with 2.5 left and they need someone to take over a game? You know that it's very hard for a center to do that, even one as untraditional as Joel. He's going to get doubled. He's going to have to kick it out. Who's the guy now that is going to be that shot maker / shot creator that Jimmy was, the closer that people referred to him as? I feel like they're lacking in that department.
Well, they better not be. They just signed. They have 3 max players right now. If one of them can't get you a bucket in the last, multiple buckets in the last 4 minutes, then everyone who was in favor of signing them should be fired.
Well, do you think that they have that guy? I mean, which guy is that guy to you?
I mean, it has to be Tobias or Ben or Joel. Who do I think it should be? It should be all 3 of them. You should not make the max and not be able to score in the last 4 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Tobias can score, but he's more of a catch and shoot player than someone like, the way Jimmy was able to take over a game, going to the basket or creating his own shot. I feel like Tobias needs to have the shots created for him.
I guess you'd have to do the research on it, but my recollection of the numbers is he was pretty good off the dribble. He was pretty good when Jimmy was getting rest, especially in third quarters. He was pretty good at, not only going off the dribble, but beating a double team before it came, making the right decision. I think he's better. I think one of his big frustrations was he wasn't used like that as much as he'd like to have been, and he did it well in Los Angeles with the Clippers. So maybe it's him most of the time. But it's got to be all 3 of them. You can't make that much money. You can't make 150, 170, and 180, and be like, oh, I don't want the ball.
Right. At the end of the day, Marcus, like we've had these discussions obviously for years now, but weeks more recently. And the bottom line is it's Embiid. Like you can have Butler, you can have Tobias, you can have Horford, all great. This team's going to go as far as Embiid goes, bottom line.
Well, and I don't understand the perception or the contention. Well, it can't be Embiid because he's going to get doubled. Embiid has to be the kind of player who makes the correct decision if he's doubled. He has to be able to anticipate the double. He has to be able to beat the double every once in a while. And he has to have the ball in the last 4 minutes. It's only his third full season. I understand that. It's only Ben's third full season. I understand that. But they got to be able to play. You can't say, I'm this and I'm that. I'm going to be this. I want to be the MVP. I want to be an all-star. I want to be the rookie of the year. And then be like, I can't do it. I'm getting double teamed. I can't do it. They're taking the ball. They're making me shoot. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
And if that's what they say.
Sorry, go ahead, Marcus.
If that's what they say, if that's what they say, then it's the people who put them in that position who need to, pay the price. Making
the right decision out of the double and, just taking care of the ball down the stretch in general for Embiid is a big area of focus. And how does Horford come in now with all of that? How do you predict Horford to really help Embiid in that area of development?
I expect Al Horford to help everybody in every area of development. He's the anti-Jimmy. Al Horford's not going to be attending press conferences to show the league that his attitude has changed in the postseason. He's going to be holding his own. He's going to be letting Joel Embiid hold his own. He's not going to be there's nothing fake about Al Horford. Unlike Jimmy Butler, there's a lot of fake, there's a lot of posing about Jimmy Butler, who's a very talented player, but not nearly. I mean, the contention that Jimmy Butler somehow was a leader in the second half of this NBA season is beyond laughable. He was. I thought he would be a better leader. I thought that he was truly frustrated with the youth in Minnesota, and therefore he would come to Philadelphia to start not only revamp his image but show who he really was, and he did. He showed exactly who he really was. He's about Jimmy Butler, and that's fine. You don't. And everybody has to be a leader. You don't have to be something you're not. But that's he was insubordinate. He complained about the play calling. He complained about his usage. He was disruptive in meetings. He was everything that you hoped he wouldn't be, but everything he had been before. That said, Al Horford is exactly the opposite guy. He went to Boston and was mature enough to defer to Jason Tatum, who was a rookie, so they could win. That, to me, is massive. Think about the people he had to deal with in Boston, okay? Brown, a second-year high first-round pick. Nobody understands because he's a brilliant guy, but he's a wacko. Jason Tatum, another cerebral first-round pick. Marcus Smart, who wants to fight everybody all the time, and Marcus Morris, who wants to fight everybody all the time. Then you have –
and don't forget Kyrie.
Come in 2 years ago. Well, no, we haven't gotten to flat Earth yet.
Oh, okay.
Then you got Gordon Hayward, who nobody wanted. Nobody wanted him there. But you already got two guys playing his position. Then you sign him to a ton of money to and have a third. And then you got flat Earth guy, who's he not only is he on the you don't know what planet he's on. He doesn't understand the planet he's on. So. Al Horford was the leader. He was the general. He was everything to that team. This is going to be a cakewalk for him as far as leadership goes.
Let me ask you, Marcus, because you said you feel like the Sixers are good, but not necessarily the best team in the East right now. So I assume you probably think Toronto, if they bring back Kawhi, is still the best team. How many teams do you think are better right now, and what can the Sixers add between now and the start of the season to make you feel like they'd have a better shot to come out of the East?
Well, they can't add anything. There's nobody out there now that makes them
not even Korver?
Appreciably better.
The hot rumor is Kyle Korver is their front runners to get him, and they certainly could use a shooter.
I mean, if nobody else has Korver by now, there's a reason. I don't dislike Kyle Korver, but he's offense off the bench and a defensive liability. He's a good guy in the locker room, and I like the guy, but he's not. He's not your answer. I don't think there's anything they can do. If Toronto gets Kyrie back, they're the best. Milwaukee's probably the second best. And New Jersey's better right now without Durant. And when they get Durant, I mean, how
New
much
Jersey.
better are they going to be?
You mean Brooklyn? You mean Brooklyn? Okay.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Brooklyn. Sorry. How old am I?
New Jersey could work too. Whatever. KD's out for a year, so it's going to take a while. Marcus Hayes joining us. Follow him on Twitter at InkStainedWretch. I want to transition now to the Phillies before we let you go, Marcus, because Geoff and I really talked for an extended period here to open up the show about the Phillies and specifically Matt Klentak, because we look at this starting pitching rotation and we say, what the heck is he seeing that we're not?
Well, my question is, what are you seeing that he's not? I mean, who would you trade and for what?
It's
And
not.
would you
It's
let
really not that.
Michael
It's that
3 weeks ago?
he had the press conference before the Mets series, before the sweep, and basically said, "We're good enough as is to compete for the." He basically said this team has to play well and make the front office then go out and make that move to beef it up for the playoffs. And so my response to that was, well, why do you think, Matt Klentak, that you've put together a team right now that is playing well, that can play well to do that when after NOLA from 2 through 5, you have no idea what you're getting on a consistent basis from any of the starting pitchers, and the bullpen that you tried to put together has fallen apart. So why would you expect this team to be able to compete when you have one good starter and one good reliever?
Well, my belief, and I'm no Klentak defender, but the reality is the bullpen that he put together has never been together. I mean, David Roberts,
it's not his fault. We did bring that up, right?
Yeah. So until the veterans are healthy, he gets a pass from me on the bullpen. It is what it is, and everybody's got a terrible bullpen. Going into the season, I didn't have a problem betting on those 4 back end starters. I thought that Jake Arrieta was kind of a joke, kind of a excuse making, my knee hurts parody of a leader, but he's a weirdo. He is what he is, and Nola didn't pitch well early, but I don't know what else what you expect Matt Klentak to say. I don't think he has the assets right now to move to appreciably improve his starting lineup, his starting pitching rotation, number one. Number two, I don't know what's out there and available right now that would improve it, and it certainly wasn't there 3 weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm agreeing. I don't think you go out and just try to get mad bum and give up prospects for a team that might make the playoffs. But I just thought it was a little maybe tone deaf to say that we should be good enough to compete when he put together.
Oh, come on, man.
They're really, you can Marcus, you can articulate we have to play better, or it's my job to put together a better staff.
He hasn't said anything like on tone since he's been here. This is not his forte. He's just not good at it. I mean, he's not gonna massage you. He's gonna say what he's coached to say by Andy McPhail, and then he's gonna kind of do what he thinks is best anyway. It's just that it's who he is. He's a headstrong millennial who thinks that his way will work. And one of the things I was told both in spring training and when they who was it, the Braves signed Dallas Keuchel. Like, look, we were told and we showed that we're willing to spend money, stupid money, quote unquote, but everybody's got a budget. And if we're as inconsistent as we've been, how do we go to John and say, listen, this is all we need? Well, we need more, and when we were having that conversation, their top 4 center fielders were down. 4 center fielders were down. So, and this is a team whose defensive outfield play won them a lot of games in center field and in left field earlier this season. They had this incredible luxury of having Andrew McCutchen in left field and a resurgent Bryce Harper in right field, one of the best defensive outfields in the league, and nobody expected that to this degree, So there are a lot of moving parts of this team. There's never was a lot of depth. One of the issues I think every year with rebuilding teams, and I wrote a column a couple of weeks ago that said, if you're starting 4 pitchers in the back end of your rotation and you don't know how good they are, you're still rebuilding. This is a developmental year. I don't care if you add Gene Segura, JT Realmuto, and Bryce Harper. You still don't know how good your team's going to be. You still have big questions. So, That said, I think some of the frustration is born of expectation. If they go from 80 to 88 wins, 80 to 90 wins, which I think is possible, especially once they, stop playing the Nationals and the Braves, who are very, very good teams and ahead of them in the standings now, I think it'll be seen as a successful year by the front office, by the owner, but maybe not by fans and, media and people outside of Philadelphia who, you remember, this is what they call it, the Fab Five, the Fantastic Five, when Tobias Harris showed up with the Sixers and, crowned them the best starting lineup in the East. That was a joke. That was ridiculous. Anybody who bought into that deserved every bit of disappointment that Kawhi brought them.
That's very true, Marcus, and that's a great place to end it. The Phillies have one more series here against the lowly Mets, but who are we to talk, at least as of now, before they go into All-Star break? We'll see how the Philadelphia Phillies do here in the second half. Marcus Hayes, a pleasure as always. Be sure to check out his most recent article at theinquirer.com from the Philadelphia Inquirer on Ben Simmons. Brand new, shiny contract, secure in the bag. Marcus Hayes, before I let you go, hot dog or cheeseburger for July 4th?
Oh, cheeseburger.
All day.
You never know what's in a hot dog, man.
All day.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Real men. No, hot dog's a hot dog. Real men eat meat.
There you go.
Perfect. Marcus Hayes, everybody. Marcus, enjoy your weekend. Thanks again, as always, for spending a few minutes of your time with us.
See you, Marcus.
All right, boys. Take care.